In the news this week, Theresa May says the UK leads the world in tackling non-violent extremism. Doctors are told to drop the words expectant mother over fears of offending transsexual people. And a bill aiming to curb the influence of Sharia courts receives strong support in the House of Lords. Hello. Theresa May has claimed the UK is leading the world in tackling non-violent extremism. The Prime Minister told US Republicans that tackling violent extremism was not enough. She said both terrorists and their ideology need to be eradicated.
The UK has led the world in developing a strategy for preventing violent extremism, and why the British and American governments are working together to take on and defeat the ideology of Islamist extremism. And nor is it enough merely to focus on violent extremism. We need to address the whole spectrum of extremism, starting with the bigotry and hatred that can so often turn to violence.
The Christian Institute, the National Secular Society, and many other groups have consistently spoken out against the government's extremism plans, saying they threaten free speech. Institute Director Colin Hart expressed his concern about the Prime Minister's comments.
Theresa May is right. The UK is unique in the way it's tackling extremism. There's no other country in the world that's a modern democracy that is clamping down on non-violent extremism in the same way that the government are intending to do in Britain. Non-violent extremists are people who are committed to non-violence. And yet we know that people like Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks and William Wilberforce were all committed to non-violence and yet were accused of being extremists in their lifetimes. So this is a very dangerous plan.
Doctors across the UK have been told not to call pregnant women expectant mothers in case they offend transsexual people. Guidance issued by the British Medical Association instructs staff to use the term pregnant people instead. A 14-page booklet on the issue, uncovered by the Mail on Sunday, states a large majority of people that have been pregnant or have given birth identify as women. The document came under fire from feminist Julie Bindel, who described it as an assault on womanhood. And columnist Sarah Vine said the guidance suggests the process of becoming a mother is little more than a social construct. A recent BBC documentary highlighted the dangers of endorsing the view that people can be trapped in the wrong body. Transgender Kids, Who Knows Best featured Lou, who became convinced by pro-trans activists she had to transition or die. President Trump has named Neil Gorsuch as his nominee for the US Supreme Court in a move welcomed by many Christians. If he is appointed, he will replace the late Justice Antonin Scalia, who died last year. Gorsuch has defended the conscience rights of Christians in cases relating to abortion and voiced strong opposition to assisted suicide and euthanasia. An extract from a book he wrote in 2006 states that all human beings are intrinsically valuable and the intentional taking of human life by private persons is always wrong. The Christian Institute's director Colin Hart welcomed the move. People are aware of the serious moral failings in President Trump's personal life. However, we must also recognise when he does something right. In nominating Neil Gorsuch for this position, he could restore a much-needed balance to the most powerful court in the US. And finally, the harrowing experiences of women affected by Sharia law have been heard in the House of Lords. Baroness Caroline Cox shared their stories as she told peers about her bill, which aims to curb the influence of Sharia courts and counter discrimination.
We heard from Fozia, who was sent to Kashmir from Britain under false pretences, where she was threatened at gunpoint into a forced marriage. Returning to the UK, she soon discovered that her new husband was entering into another marriage to help him to stay in this country. When Fozia went to the police with her concern over bigamy, they told her, "Oh, we can't arrest him because it's allowed in your religion." My lord, such suffering cannot be allowed to continue.
There was unanimous support for the Baroness and her bill, with peers from both major parties calling on the government to act.
I really hope the government will not continue to drift along in the brackish waters of scoping studies Home Office counter-extremism strategies and hoping it will go away working parties.
It's very important that this should be dealt with sooner rather than later. It's easy to put off, but on the whole, the urgency of the situation, I think, merits action at an early date.
However, while the government acknowledged the work that had been done to bring the matter out of the shadows, it refused to give its official support. Well, that's all for this week. For regular updates and information on all our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.